Welcome to the Voices of the Goddess podcast. We believe that there is a goddess inside each and every one of us. When we use our voice to share that goddess, we support and uplift each other. Join us each week as we interview women to receive the message of their goddess within. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Voices of the Goddess podcast, where we empower, inspire, and uplift women to be the goddesses they were meant to be. I am Julietta. Oh, my name changed. PT, Body and Soul PT. I don't know how that happened, but that's okay. It's all good. I am a physical therapist in the Fort Lauderdale area, originally from Wisconsin. I am a cat mom and an artist and an author and a jeweler and a podcaster and all kinds of stuff.
Slash, right?
Slash. That would be me.
Yep.
I'm joined here by my amazing partner in crime, Allyson.
So I will laugh because when I heard you say cat mom, I was actually listening to one of our interviews this morning on the podcast, and it was when we were talking about Sekhmet being more of an alien than a cat. But yes. You still have to
I'm an alien mom.
You have to put her picture up in the group. Okay. So my name is Allyson Mancini. I'm a holistic nutritionist. I am a mom to two amazing young adults, a 25-year-old son and a 22-year-old daughter. I'm also a dog mom. So if you hear chaos in the background, it's the puppy, 8 months old, German short-haired pointer. He's a nutball. That's what I call him all the time. And I am a holistic nutritionist. I also happen to be work for a pretty amazing company too, doing their human resources and wellness for their staff and coaches. And that's the Gold Digger Girl. She's incredible. And I am soon to be an artist because I'm going to start painting this weekend, Julietta. So I'm going to have a slash.
Well, you get to post your paintings in the group.
My first painting is going to be, I'm trying to paint the sunset at the lake because it's my favorite. So
nice. That'll be beautiful.
We'll see how it goes.
That will be beautiful.
We'll see.
So we had a question from our audience that we want to answer. Mm-hmm. So Tracy was reading the Conversations with God book. That was
would have been September
and August that we did those two books. She's also since read the third book, which I need to get back to reading the third book. But she wanted to know, how are people, quote unquote, living in joy and staying in joy when they walk into the kitchen with nasty dishes that people refuse to wash or rinse, no matter how you remind or ask them to be respectful of communal spaces. It seems incredibly difficult to keep the joy and not get annoyed and frustrated. Are you just supposed to do all the dishes and clean up the mess? Like, how do you handle that?
You want to answer first or you want me to answer first?
You can answer first because your answers, we talked about this a little bit and I know your answer is a little bit different than my answer.
Yeah. So my answer is that I have come to a place and I'm not totally sure how I got to this place, but I think it's just growth, whatever. But I have come to a place because I just said I have a 25-year-old and a 22-year-old and a husband and dogs, and we had a cat. And so there were times where I would walk into the house and stuff's everywhere. Kitchen's a mess. No one puts their dishes in the dishwasher. Drove me nuts. For me now, I've kind of flipped that. And to me, it's almost that, it's just going to sound weird, but that time to put the dishes into the dishwasher is such a mindless job that it's almost meditative for me. So it's actually very relaxing now for me to just shut everything out and put the dishes in the dishwasher. So a lot of times I was telling Julietta, now, we're empty nesters. It's just my husband and I, and our routine has always been since our kids were little. He doesn't like to cook. I don't like to cook either, but someone's got to do it, right? So I cook, he cleans. That's always kind of been the deal. I cook, he cleans. Now, a lot of times I cook and clean because I like it doesn't bother me anymore to do the dishes. I actually like that. So I think I just kind of changed my perspective instead of looking at it as like, I think sometimes we look at it and we're like, oh, they're doing that on purpose. They don't appreciate me. They're taking me for granted, right? Like all those things go through our head and it's really not that. I mean, to be honest with you, they're just in their own worlds and they just aren't even thinking about it. So That's my answer. It's not a very good one, but that's my answer.
No, it's the perfect answer. And it's going to be the perfect answer for somebody else that's listening. And, you know, this is what is so cool about all of this is like, we get to figure out what works for us. Mm-hmm. So when I find something triggering me like that, the first thing I'm going to do is look at myself and say, you know, why is this triggering me? What is this bringing up for me? Mm-hmm. You know, like, for example, you said like, oh, they don't appreciate me. Well, if I'm experiencing people not appreciating me, it means I'm not appreciating me. And so what do I need to do to appreciate myself more? Mm-hmm. Another one of my go-tos is, how would I feel if they actually did clean up after themselves? And then choose to feel that now. Mm. And the funny thing is a lot of times when you do that, when you choose to feel how it would feel if somebody did whatever, all of a sudden they start doing it.
Yep. That's because you put it out there. It's in the universe. The energy's there, right?
Right. So energetically, those are like, I could talk for like days about all of this, but mm-hmm. those would be my two like go-tos is, you know, mm-hmm. if something's triggering me, I got to look at myself and why is that triggering me and work that out within myself. Mm-hmm. And the second one is feel how I want to feel, watch the world shift.
Yeah. And I think that that's definitely something I've learned from you over the last few years about the looking at myself. Like when someone makes me angry or someone does something that feels hurtful or whatever, I have to turn it back around and take it from my perspective. What is it you used to say? Like something about a mirror. What is it you say?
Oh, I'm not what you think I am. You're what you think I am. Exactly. And then you flip that around and it's, you're not what I think you are. I'm what I think you are.
It's a little deep, but yes, it's true.
But also, when you said that, maybe for those who are Facebook friends with me, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, I actually shared, I had written something about this on Facebook. Like, I was kind of shocked. Like, I think I wrote it in 2017 or something like that. Kind of on the same subject. Like you can sit there and point fingers at people all day long, mm-hmm. or you can stop and look at yourself. Like what is, they're not making you feel that way. You're making yourself feel that way. Mm-hmm. So what it is in you that's triggering that feeling. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But anyway, we could talk about this stuff all day long, but we have a guest to bring on that
we do
has really interesting things to share with our audience. So let's bring her on. Right. Yes.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. I love, like, I feel like we have someone that has doctor in front of their name on our show. That like makes it sound really important and official.
I know. I'm just an everyday goddess. That's all.
Yes, we know. I've known you for probably, I think, like 6 years now or something.
Yeah, at least.
And my experience of you is that you do walk around with this goddess energy around you. So I just want to say welcome. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Lopes. It is our pleasure to have you on our show. And if you would please tell our audience a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, first, I want to thank both of you for allowing me to come and grace myself with your presence in this wonderful opportunity. I am an acupuncture physician and a breath worker and a Psych K facilitator. That's a mouthful. But ultimately, what I try to do is to help people on their journey to their own wellness by empowering them with the tools of my trade, which are acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine. And so I do that physically in my office space, which you see a little bit around me, as well as in a virtual space, because what COVID didn't teach us anything is that we can break out of our box and to be able to do anything anywhere within reason. Okay. So I haven't yet figured out how to do acupuncture through the screen, but you never know. Chi and energy can go anywhere. And so I think of myself as somebody who holds space energetically for people to find their path to their own healing. And so I always find it that I help people from pain to wellness. And I use the tools of acupuncture, breathwork, and Psych K to do that.
She's got / too. So
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Because why not have many things in your toolbox? You never know when
Yes.
you're going to be able to use them, right?
absolutely. And I love, talking about, because as a physical therapist, traditionally, physical therapists would work with people. We put our hands on people.
Mm-hmm.
And I did do distance work beforehand, both virtually through the internet and also just energetically through the ethers. And energy is energy, and so yes, you might not stick a needle through the camera, but
Mm-hmm.
you can definitely transmit that energy. Because to me, acupuncture is it's like the original energy, because
Mm-hmm.
that's what it's about. So
Yeah,
uh,
I find that a lot of this, and this is not a bad thing, is that you have to work with where people are. And sometimes if they're not honest, then it's a trial and error. Yeah, I can use these points for you, but if you had said something about this, the treatment would have been even better than it was. And so I try to instill in people that honest conversation, whatever happens in here stays in here, because then that breeds a different level of communication that is so important in any of the work we do. Because if they're not doing what we're suggesting when they leave our offices, then there is a little gap in the treatment plan that we have for them. And so I'm always honest in saying, hey, if this type of what I'm saying to you isn't going to work, let's find out what will work for you and work from there. Like I had a patient who decided that she knew that she needed to start walking and stretching, and no matter what I would say to her, she would say, "No, I'm not doing that." And I'm like, "Okay, you can come and we can work this." But finally today, she says, "You know what I'm doing now? I'm walking. I'm walking 2 miles a day, and I'm stretching a little bit. I'm working on that. I might go to Pilates to help me stretch." And I thought, what progress if you just hold the space and be the container for somebody to find their way to what works for them.
nice. All right. Well, welcome to the show. It is time for us to jump into our questions. So I'm always super curious because a lot of our guests, I know them, and so it's always like just I'm so curious to hear what their answers are going to be, especially for this first question for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
But what is your superpower?
That question has always been a very interesting journey. But I can honestly say I think my superpower is vulnerability. And that when you're vulnerable, you get to explore and do things that you couldn't do when you had fear of somebody finding out something. And I've lived in that world, and it's a lot of work to hold it all together, not letting them find out this, or, oh my God, what are they going to think about me in this? So, I think vulnerability is a superpower.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Put a big V on your shirt. That could be many things, but right now we're talking about vulnerability.
It makes me laugh, and I'm going to use this as an opportunity to bring it up. So Allyson is dying.
Allison's like, what are you doing?
What am I doing? So one of the books that I was given to read during the gratitude trainings was a book called Pussy.
Yes, and wasn't it great?
It's a great book.
I gotta read it. I gotta read it.
Allyson, I can't believe you haven't read it yet. I swear.
I
swear. Like my Christmas gift to all of the Voices of the Goddess community is December. Our book is going to be Pussy. I've declared it right now.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because when you are afraid of that word and not really understanding and owning it, then reading the book in public is, you got to work through some stuff to be able to say, doesn't matter what the name of the book is, it's an empowerment for all women to own who they are.
I think that it's always been used to me growing up. That was used so derogatory, right? I mean, listen, I can countless times of the guys that I grew up with, throwing that word around there like it was a bad thing, right? Like and not even a bad thing. Like it just was so demeaning the way that they would use that word that I'm sure
it's just because they're jealous because they don't have one. All they want.
That always works like that. I don't have it, so I'm going to denigrate it.
Yep, you're right. And they probably wish they did always have one, right?
Okay, anyway, so you heard it here first, people. December's book is Pussy, so go ahead and order your copy now. And talking about books, we'll move on to question number 2. What is your favorite book or a book that has greatly influenced your life?
Oh my goodness. So I think one of the reasons I got to the place of vulnerability being a superpower is the great Brene Brown's book, The Power of Vulnerability. But I also like Daring Greatly as well. So she was inspirational in looking at it's okay to not be okay. And it's okay not to know everything. I think the strength comes saying, I don't know. That's where strength comes for me.
Yeah.
And then the autobiography of Yogi, Yogananda, I think it was. I think when you look at spirituality and you look at thought, it comes from everywhere. And there is always that line through everything that is be good to yourself, be good to other people, and show compassion and love. And so for me, that was one of the books that really looked at how those themes are not just in Christianity or Judaism or Muslim, it's in Buddhism, it's in all the other spiritual thought that we don't even know about because we only know, quote unquote, the big 3 or the big 4. So Brene Brown, the autobiography of the Yogi, and of course, The Life of Pi. I love the movie too.
Look at her.
Wasn't
She's
that great?
4 already.
I know. I'm stopping now.
I never read The Life of Pi. I watched the movie, so I had no idea what it was about. I had no clue.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, I was like, oh my gosh, like totally mind blown. Was not expecting that at all.
I know, right?
And then it just tore me apart. Like I was so upset. I was like, oh my gosh, now that I'm putting this all together, I was like devastated because I have a really hard time watching a lot of stuff because it just really gets me. What was the second author you said again?
It's Yogananda. I would have to look that up for you. That's a long name and I can't quite, but it is the autobiography of Yogi.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. So, okay, we're going to stop talking about books because she'll add another one.
I could go on because there's a whole other list of them too, but how can you pick one, ladies? It's hard.
Can't.
I know, but because it's a 30-minute podcast.
Oh, yes.
We'll be here for hours.
Oh my!
Listen, as one of our guests said, book nerds unite. Like we love books. But
we need a T-shirt that says that. I'm telling you, book nerds unite.
Along with one that has a big V, or maybe it should be a P on it. I'm not sure.
Could be either one.
Oh man, I love it. All right. Question number 3 is, what is your favorite self-love practice?
Being next to or in the ocean. It's healing for me. I love it. There's anything could be going awry or taking something too seriously, but sitting by the ocean or being in the ocean just changes everything.
Nice. we all know there's healing properties of the ocean, which is, even people who don't know it, like they're attracted to be there because all those negative ions that come off the ocean water is so healing for everybody.
And the
My only
smell of
wish
it too.
yeah, but I wish that my skin tolerated the sun better because I tend to.
Well, there's always an umbrella, because I use an umbrella and sit out there all day. But I wouldn't be sitting out there all day without the umbrella.
Okay.
Maybe 15 minutes.
And and honestly, here in the dead heat of July or August, I don't think I could even do it with an umbrella. But I agree with you. In fact, I just told a client of mine yesterday, you need to go sit at the ocean. Like, you need to go sit out on the beach, go do it in the morning or at the end of the day, so you're not hot and you're not, uncomfortable, but because it is so healing. It's so good for us.
Yeah. They have in some of the areas where I go to, and I'm not telling anybody where that is, but they have Adirondack chairs. They have chairs where you can sit and look at the ocean. And I love that because the city actually created places where you could sit. There's only 6 of them. So there's 3 or 4 on each side, 6 to 8 of them. But if you get there, what better way to just spend your 15, 20 minutes at your lunch hour and then get back, and it changes your whole way of thinking. It's like, if you were upset, you're not anymore.
Nice. I love it.
I think I need
Ocean lover. That's what I
get
am.
myself to the beach.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Our 4th and final question, and this question came out of research that we did before we started the podcast, finding out what goddesses needed support with. And one of the big questions that came up is creating accountability. So when you're a busy, amazing goddess with so many slashes of all these things that you do and have to get done, how do you create the accountability to get it all done?
Part is going to be a couple part question for me, but I think authenticity is like, you really got to own what you can and cannot do and get done, and really prioritize that. And I have short lists, long lists I can't even finish, but I don't beat myself up for it. I get to what is to what I can do in a day, and know that tomorrow's another day. Tomorrow's another day to pick up and keep continuing. And yeah, I think that's authenticity, and just knowing what you're capable of doing and not set yourself up for failure by putting too much on that plate. And that's then getting,
I've learned a little bit. I've agreed to do too much at times in the past, and really working on weeding the things that don't really honor me and serve me and resonate with me. Like, time to let them go.
I think that's important for all of us to really own that, either publicly or privately with ourselves or our family and friends, to say, this is what I can do. And I'm not going to feel guilty because I can't do X, Y, and Z. Here's what I can do for you. And I think our society is built on, you have to do as much as possible, even to the breaking point. And I don't think that's a functional society when we do things like that.
I do feel a little bit like the pandemic has kind of helped people learn that, hey, if you don't do everything, it's okay.
Nothing fell apart. The world didn't fall, there was no earth-shattering thing. You just get to do it.
Orbiting around the sun.
Yeah.
So nice. I like that.
Yeah.
All right, Miss Allyson, what is your takeaway for today?
So, these always change, because like in the beginning, I'm like, ooh, that's my takeaway. And then I'm like, wait, no, that's my takeaway. So no, my takeaway is from this very end part. And it's really about the authenticity. And I think, so many times we do things because, this is me. Let me just rephrase this. I do things because I think that's what people expect that I should do. Right. So I'm doing things that I think people are expecting me to do versus things that I want to do. And like you said, about owning it and prioritizing it and being authentic. So as I get older, I hit 50 in January, I'm really starting. I mean, I'm still planning on having at least another good 50 years around here, but in the meantime, right. But okay, so how do I want to spend these next 50 years? I really want to, like you said, prioritize. So I'm just listening to what you were saying. And I'm like, yeah, I really need to go to the ocean and sit down for, a good half hour with a little notebook in my hand and get down to business about what it is I really want to do for the next 50 years. So maybe not quite that long, but I'm being here for 50 years, but maybe not planning 50 years. We'll just go with the next 5 for now. You know what I mean? And when I tell my husband that, I'm like, I'm going to be around for another 50 years. He's like, what? I'm like, oh, heck yes. I go, and in good health and in sound mind. And yes.
Well, you just have fun with that. I don't plan.
I know you don't want to. I know. Come on. You got to hang with me.
I'll hang with you for as long as I can. And at some point I got to go home. So anyway. But let's talk about my takeaway. I loved that you said your superpower was vulnerability. Like, I've really grown to appreciate the ability to be vulnerable and have really gotten way more comfortable with being vulnerable. And I like the fact that you named it your superpower. Like, to me, that was super empowering. And you've shifted even further how I think about vulnerability. So thank you for that. And for you, what is your takeaway?
That sisterhood is really important. That, we have a tendency to want to think we have to do this by ourselves. And that's not true. And the more we gravitate to, they don't have to be like-minded, but visionary and wanting to move forward, because we can agree to disagree and still continue on the fellowship in the journey. So I think I really continue to embrace sisterhood. That does not at all. So I don't want anybody to say that I was leaving out the men of the world. I'm not. I'm including them in the whole concept because we have to do it together.
Absolutely, we have to do it together. And I also love that you said like we can all be amazing, forward-thinking, empowering, inspiring women, and we don't have to have the same beliefs to be able to work together and support each other and get along. And I think that message is so important out there today. It's about bringing unity. And, part of this is stemmed from how often have we known women that are trying to tear each other down, and it's time for us all to lift each other up. And the more that we can heal the feminine, that's also going to support the masculine healing that needs to happen in this world as well. So
Absolutely.
This is in no way we're definitely not tearing men down here in this group. We're here to lift them up. And it's not about separating ourselves from them, but rather working on ourselves so that we can work better together.
Men are vulnerable too. I mean, we have a society that requires them to be in a box that is stifling, as they do for women. And so if we can identify that we're both in boxes that we need to break out of, then the clarity and awareness starts to show that we can do this together.
What was the what was the book we had a guest tell us about that was about men that she read? And she said it was really great. I'd have to go back and look at my notes, but it was basically, but it was basically about that, about like from a man's perspective, like how, and it wasn't not that you've talked about a different one, but this was another one. I know I wrote it down somewhere, but yeah, I agree.
Well, I don't, now I'm blanking on his name. Oh, Michael DeSanti from Gratitude Training. I don't know if you read his New Man Emerging. You know, I'm like, yeah, it was a book written by a man for men, but I had to read it anyway. And I mean, so much of what he had to say in there applies just as much to women as it does to men. But yeah, we need to give our men the space to be vulnerable and be real and not live up to these ridiculous expectations that society has created. And we all get to be more authentic and real. And
Absolutely.
No, I think you're so right. I have a son, I have a son and a daughter, and I see that he's 25. I see that with these young men that they feel they are only allowed to act a certain way and show certain things. And still, I mean, this has been going on forever, but still in this day and age, they still feel that way. And it is a shame. It really is.
Yeah. It is.
Like, this sounds like a whole nother podcast.
I know. I'm like, okay.
I know.
We need to have Dr. Réquel back on again.
Empowering humanity.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it is time for us to wrap up. So thank you again. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your, like I said, I don't know what it is about you. It's just like, she has this calming, but it's like, it's so powerful and so calming at the same time. It's almost like, how do you do that? It's magical. I love being in your energy and your space, Dr. Réquel. So thank you for joining us. Thank you also to our listeners for listening. And if you've enjoyed what you've heard here today, please subscribe, like, follow, and share this with other women out there that need empowerment in becoming the goddess that they are meant to be. You'll find all the information that you needed, that you heard about in the show today, in the show notes, in the comments, so check that out. And if you'd like to be a guest on our show, please go on our website, botgpodcast.com, and fill out the form, and we'll get in touch with you and get you on the show as well. And I want to wish everybody out there a magical day. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.